So my name is Kent Johnson, and my wife and I, we have 4 children, and homeschooling and just having a great time with it. And we did notice one of our kids, just seemed lazy. And it's kind of interesting because it's not something you would identify right away. But my wife just had it in her, and so I was curious and being there every day and wondering why it seemed so hard. And then we had met another family that had an idea, and this was Dave Hurst. And he tried a couple things and said, it seems like I might have a solution for you. And so we went through this class, and it was amazing.
We started working with Dave almost a year ago. I guess it was at the beginning of this school year. And Luke was really having a difficulty when he was reading with, I noticed first the small words, that if it was a word that he knew that was sort of a large word that I would have thought he might have difficulty with, he was able to use phonics usually to sound it out. He knew the rules, but he couldn't read the small words. A was always the. Cat, he couldn't say cat, but he could read university or words like that. And it was starting to get frustrating because I didn't feel like he was trying. Maybe he was lazy, or he just wasn't focusing or paying attention. And pretty soon I thought he knows the rules, and he is not managing to deal with the small words in a way that cannot be phonics. There's something else going on. It was too specific. It's too specific.
So some of the symptoms that we noticed were being slow, but what it looked like though is lazy. What would happen is he'd be reading and just get frustrated and just sit there and do nothing. But there would be no explanation for it. And, day after day. And then it's, my wife homeschooling would notice, and after maybe 6 months to a year, I don't know how long, but we noticed it maybe at 5. And then we just considered there's something wrong, because it just doesn't seem, because he's so good at so many other things and he doesn't have that behavior. So it seemed like the behavior was misplaced, but we couldn't figure out what. So after we have been talking to Dave Hurst, we went over to his house, and they had what's called a slight interview. And so Dave would talk to him, see what he knows and what he can do, and just see if he thought there was something he could help with. And also asked Luke, if he wanted to improve and to read really well. And through that process, Luke definitely said he wanted it, and he talked to us, and he said, there's definitely something I can do to help.
Working with Dave and Luke was very interesting because it really wasn't what I thought it would be. He started with Luke with the alphabet, making the alphabet in clay. And he worked through each letter, and there was no phonics attached to it. It was the physicality of the letters. And they went through uppercase and lowercase, forward and backward. Dave was able to pull out from Luke the letters that he was stumbling over and had difficulty with. And he let him work through it. He was patient. And the change was phenomenal in him. After they worked in clay with the letters, and then he wrote them, and Luke could tell you any letter of the alphabet, what two letters it was between, what it came after another one. And the thing that just was so touching and so amazing to me was the absolute kindness and patience and understanding that Dave had for Luke. Even when there were times where Luke was having to deal with something, work through some frustration that he had, and it was frustrating to me, but never Dave. He was absolutely understanding and always supportive, always on Luke's side, always having his best interest at heart.
So what it looked like is we went, I think my wife took my son to his house, and they sat down for an hour, and he just went through a series of routines. I wasn't there personally, so I'm reflecting on what my wife had said. So, but I know from the outcome, my wife was just amazed. And, you know, her working with him every day for, since he was 4 in school, trying to go through this teaching, and having done our daughter, where she just accelerated through all these things, to see him improve and to be excited about reading and learning was very exciting for us. So the decision wasn't hard. Within maybe a couple weeks, he was reading, although it was kind of slow, but for him, he wasn't getting frustrated. He wasn't just falling apart. He wasn't looking lazy. And, you know, now, I think, what was it, he got these Christmas cards that my mom wrote this year, and he read the whole thing and made just my wife just weep, because she knows, you know, to get something that important and to be able to read it. And it was a full page of how special he was to her. And he only had one word that he didn't know how to read. And he did it on his own. And he took the time to do it. That was really neat. So, I mean, that's 2 years, and we're really excited, because I mean, I have no idea where we'd be if we hadn't started.
Luke really wasn't able to read fluently, even probably a first grade level. He could get through the words if pressed, but it was awful. It was a real struggle for us, for both of us. And after working with Dave, he can read. He's able to stop on words that phonetically he has to work out, but he doesn't stumble. Before working with Dave on his spelling, he might get one word right, maybe. And now I have him make his words in clay, and he has gotten 100% on every spelling test that he's had since then. The change is amazing. And Luke is more confident. He isn't perfect at it all the time. But one of the things that has really been a benefit is that Luke is able to tell when he is on point, when he is focused, and when he isn't. But more importantly, I can tell the difference. And so now, if he is out, not focused, and off his ability to deal with what's going on, I can see it. And I don't get frustrated with him, because I can see that he's having a focusing problem instead of being belligerent or defiant or lazy. He isn't. He's having to work through he's processing something. And so it's given me much greater patience with him. And he's doing great. you.